Welcome back to another episode of What Should I Get Pierced? My name is Scott Wilkinson. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. Now on the show, we're going to take a look at 6 people's faces and their ears. I'm going to tell you what would be good possibilities for piercings and ultimately what I think would look best on them. Now the first person we have to look at today is Stella. So let's take a look at her face. Now Stella doesn't really have any visible facial piercings, so we need to start decorating. Now the first thing I would say is definitely going to be a Medusa. As we zoom in here, go to my pen, you can see how a Medusa would fit really well with the way her lips are shaped. Now another possibility I immediately see would be Dahlia piercings. Like a little angled up just like so. Super cute, as long as you can get away with that with work. As you can see, a septum piercing, the way her nose is nice and straight, lays straight with her lip, it would look beautiful. And heal that up, and then you maybe change to a clicker, super fancy or ornate. Another possibility here would be eyebrow piercings. As long as the skin's not too tight, but you can see a little eyebrow piercing there, possibly 2 on one side. As far as other nose piercings go, I can always see a nostril. Most everyone can get a nostril as long as it's placed right, but I can totally see a nostril on one side there. And if you have the nostril on the one side just like so, you could have spider bites to balance it out. Yeah, that looks good. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would have to go with the nostril and the spider bites. Let's take a look at her ear. Now, when we're looking at her ear, you can see there's 2 lobe piercings. She likes to wear some blingy jewelry, which I'm a huge fan of. And you can see that there's a helix piercing right up top here. Now, what are we going to do to add to this? First thing I would say would be, I kind of like the idea of doing another helix piercing straight across over here, maybe with a stud, and when it heals up, match it up so you have a ring going all the way across on the other side laying forward. I think it might be kind of a cool industrial type look that doesn't connect in the middle, and if you wanted to, you could even connect a chain going from side to side. That's getting creative right there. So I would say that helix piercing. Another possibility would be a tragus piercing. The tragus piercing kind of complements this other lobe piercing across the way. I could also see a rook, very well pronounced rook piercing. See a curved barbell in there. I could also possibly see a vertical industrial where we have the bead up top and then the bar going all the way down through the conch where the bead would be behind the ear, just like so. As far as my ultimate picks, I would have to go with that other forward helix piercing as well as the tragus piercing. All right, and up next we have Chloe, and Chloe's from the UK. Chloe has symmetrical ears and a septum piercing. Everything's looking beautiful, but we can definitely add some more. Now, what would I add to this? Well, first thing I would say is if you have the symmetrical look, I'd stick to that. Now, with that being said, I could see high nostril piercings. Just a little bit higher up like so. Yeah, that would look really nice. And then I could also see some angel bites as well. Kind of keeping everything centrally located on the face. Now, if you didn't want to do the angel bites or the high nostrils, I could also totally see eyebrow piercings. You have good eyebrows for that piercing, as well as maybe an Ashley piercing. Just right through the lip. But you'd want to go down towards that lip line so it's a little lower so it does rest in your mouth properly. Yeah, as far as my ultimate picks here, I would have to go with the high nostrils and the Ashley. Now, let's take a look at her ear. Cool. So right away, we have some lobe piercings and 1 helix. Now, 1 might be borderline onto the helix already right here, but we'll call it a lobe for now. Beautiful tragus, so it needs to be pierced. You can see how well pronounced that is. Now, if it is thick enough, maybe a vertical tragus piercing. But they're tough to heal, and if it is thin, it's not going to work. Then I would say just go with the normal tragus straight through, like so. I could also see plenty of forward helixes. You have like the 4 piercings here, so maybe 1, 2, 3 to kind of balance things out that way. I love that. There's also plenty of room in the anti-helix area. 1, 2, 3 up in that area. And another fun idea would be maybe a custom industrial, where if we went like this, you can see how it wouldn't go straight across, but if we did the bar and then we kind of angled it up and then angled it back up again like so, you might be able to do a nice different angle with different angled beads on there. And that should still heal really, really nice. Otherwise, like if we look at your ear, this part sticks up too much for the industrial to go all the way across. So that's what I would do as in a custom industrial. And last option I would say is, of course, the conch. You can totally see a conch, possibly putting a cluster of beads in there. Also see a ring going all the way around. But as far as my ultimate pick, tragus and the triple forward helix. All right, and up next we have Delso from Brazil. He's new to piercings here and is wondering what would work well for him. Now, I love septum piercings. I think a septum piercing is ultimate for you. It's just, your nose is symmetrical. I can see that. It's just speaking to me. Septum piercing. Now, as far as other piercings go, I could also see a labret piercing, just kind of a centrally located one. I also love the hymen rows, slightly higher out like so, just above the mustache line. I can also see some nostril piercings. Definitely one on one side like that. And if you did just one side, maybe balance it on the other side with like an eyebrow piercing or a single lip piercing like so. Now, as far as my ultimate pick, I have to go with the septum, but I'd also like to have a labret as well. Yeah. Let's take a look at Delso's ear. And we zoom in. It looks like there was a stretched lobe in the past. It's hard to say how big it was. I don't know if there's just no jewelry in there or if they're shrinking it up, but I bet you could get probably an 8-gauge piece of jewelry in there. Get it stretching back up there. And also, first thing I'm noticing here is this tragus. Now, it does look a little thicker, and because it pronounces so much, I think we could finally get that little curved barbell doing a vertical tragus piercing. Pretty rare piercing, but it looks like it would work perfectly. Now, as far as other piercings, I could see a doth piercing. I could also see a conch piercing. And definitely a flat piercing. Like one right there in the center of the ear. You can wear a large cluster, small gem, a big gem. The options are endless. Now, as far as other piercings go, the helix looks like it's well defined, so you could add piercings all the way up and down the ear to kind of match and balance with the spacing of the other piercings. Sometimes just going all the way up. It's a classic look, and it's really, really epic. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would have to go with vertical tragus and the flat. And up next we have DJ from Australia. Fan of the page and is wondering what else we could add. So looking at her face, I'm going to say the first thing is going to be an eyebrow piercing. Now, with eyebrows in a little bit like this, it's kind of tricky to make look right, but at the same time, just on the edges there, the verticals, like, it kind of helps complete, you know what I'm saying? It looks really, really nice. And you don't see it that often. So that's what I would like to do, a set of matching eyebrow piercings, just like so. Now, as far as other piercings, I could also see mantis piercings. With the way everything is kind of here, the medusa, the nostrils, it kind of rounds everything together and makes it work perfectly. So a couple mantis piercings, and I could also suggest more vertical labrets. That's the other thing I could also see is more vertical labrets. like one like this, maybe angled out a little bit, and another one like this, angled out. Really fun look. So, now as far as my ultimate picks go, I would have to go with the mantis piercings as well as the eyebrow piercings. Let's take a look at DJ's ear. Now, looking at DJ's ear, there's only 2 piercings, but one of them is already stretched and on the way to being fairly large. It looks like maybe a 5/8 of an inch, but there's plenty of room because you can see there's plenty of lobe left underneath to keep stretching. Now, what I would like to add would be Helix Piercings. I can see adding 1, 2, 3 Helix Piercings across the top, because my idea would be to add more anti-helix right next to it to kind of balance things out. It's a total of 6 piercings. It's a lot of piercings, healing stages, but when they're layered like this with the right gems, it's epic. You got to do it. All right, and as far as other piercings go, it's a really good ear for an orbital. Now, the industrial looks like it's nice and flat here, so we might not be able to get that in there really well, but you could do an orbital from side to side across here. So the piercing's there, and the ring goes across with a bead right in the middle. So an orbital across the top would look really nice. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I am definitely going to be going with the orbital and a flat piercing. And up next, we have Megan. So let's take a look at Megan's face. Now, as far as adding new piercings, immediately I can see the Ashley piercing. It just seems to make sense to me. Nice little stud right in the middle of her lip right there. Let's make that dot a little smaller. There, a little bit more presentable. Nice. And now as far as other piercings, yeah, I can see a nice tight little septum ring. I don't see it being real big gaudy jewelry on you, but a nice tight little cute gold ring in there would be beautiful. Also see dahlias. Your smile works perfectly with dahlia piercings. It looks like your lips are pouty enough where if you didn't want to go with Ashley, where you could do the vertical labret. Sometimes just a simple Medusa is just beautiful too. And maybe a horizontal eyebrow piercing. Going a little bit lower, kind of more in the hairline, just like so. Yeah, but now as far as my ultimate picks, I keep it real simple. I just like the Ashley piercing. And let's take a look at Megan's ear. Now as we zoom in on her ear here, she said she's planning on stretching her ears a little bit more. It looks like they're ready to go. So we can definitely stretch your ears a little bit more here. Now as far as adding other jewelry, Tragus. You have a beautifully shaped Tragus, wants to be pierced. I could also see a rook piercing. It's tucked in a little bit, but having a little curved barbell up there flows with the face really, really nicely. Absolutely a good possibility for an industrial piercing. You can see how the bar would fit across there perfectly. And always a fun option is the conch piercing. There's not a real pronounced ridge right there, but if you did a nice stud, you could heal it up, go to a ring, you could do a large cluster, but conch piercings give you a lot of options. And now, for my ultimate picks, I would have to go with the industrial piercing, a conch, and the Tragus. Now, before we go to the last person, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. It's super important to us, helps us out a ton, and why would you want to miss out on any of this content? And while you're at it, hit the like button. Now, the last person we have to look at today is Nicole. So let's take a look at Nicole. Now, she already has a nostril piercing, as you can see here, and wants to add more. Now, what would we add to make this work? Well, I always love the symmetrical look, so I would have to say the other side of the nostril. And let's go with the trifecta. Add that septum in there. I love the look. I haven't suggested that in a while. All 3 of those. It's a great look. Now, as far as other piercings go, For sure, I could see a lip piercing, you know, kind of balance it out with the other nostril. Possibly even doing spider bites on one side like so. I could also see eyebrow piercings. The way the glasses rest, there's plenty of room to go just above and still see that jewelry, which is kind of a fun. Sometimes glasses completely cover it. Sometimes they still allow it to be seen. Works really, really well here. I could also see a Medusa. It looks like the nose is nice and straight and centered to the lips, so the Medusa would work well. Maybe a double Ashley. I don't ever condone horizontal side-to-side lip piercings, but two ones going straight across like that or straight through look really, really nice. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would have to go with the other nostril and the double Ashley. Now, let's take a look at her ear. And as we're looking at her ear, you can see there really isn't too much going on. There is some piercings, possibly one or two, or it was stretched and it's starting to shrink. It's kind of hard to tell. Now, as far as adding new piercings, first thing I want to point out is the forward helix might not be a good area to pierce because you can see how little room there is right there. Now, if you wanted a forward helix, we could do one a little lower, like right there. That would work real well, but this upper area won't work. Now, as far as upper helix piercings, we could do a vertical one with a barbell just like that. We could do regular helix piercings going down the ear. I could totally see 3 of them up there. Beautiful doth for a piercing, so it comes from inside the ear. We could also do a tragus piercing. Plenty of room for a conch. As a matter of fact, it's just the right spacing where I could see a double conch, and when it's healed, having 2 rings going around the ear. Nice look. And we can always add more lobe piercings. Either start stretching this one back out or adding a couple more lobe piercings. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would have to go with the doth piercing and the vertical helix. Now that winds all this up today. If you guys, let me know how I did. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button, and of course, keep putting holes in your body. See y'all in the next video.